Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
President Kellogg.
Aye.
Vice President Otto.
Aye.
Member Archuleta.
Aye.
Member Baxter.
Aye.
Member Zia.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6.4, this is a budget increase or decrease action item. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 6.4.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Zia,
Second.
second by trustee Baxter. Discussion. Chair recognizes trustee Baxter.
Yes, again, in the name of transparency, the Long Beach City College Foundation was a recipient of the James Irvine Grant for $125,000.
Very good. There's a motion and a second on the floor for 6.4. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
President Kellogg.
Aye.
Vice President Otto.
Aye.
Member Archuleta.
Aye.
Member Baxter.
Aye.
Member Zia.
Aye.
Very good. Item 12.1, bond contracts amendments. This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Otto,
Second.
second by trustee Baxter. Discussion. Chair recognizes trustee Zia.
Thank you, President Kellogg. So I had a question regarding both items. With GHD, it's the 9th amendment, and I see that the contract has more than doubled. This is for the from the General Obligation Bond Fund, and it's to provide hazardous materials consulting. I'd like to understand why it's more than doubled, and is this going to be? Are we anticipating further amendments, or is this it? And then I'll ask my second question if you want to go consecutively. Either way works for me. The second question is on RBKK. This is on the First Amendment. And it seems that we're extending both the term, about 7 months, for the mathematics and technology building project in LAC campus. It seems like we're extending the time and the funding, but the second paragraph says it's just the term. So if you can elaborate on that, and then when are we expecting the math building to be ready?
So to answer the first question regarding GHD Incorporated, this is a vendor that we use for hazardous materials consulting. The first contract would have been for a specific project, and so as we start up new projects, then we will amend their contract to add on, and when I mean new projects, so if they're doing the testing for the Math Tech building, and then if we add on the testing for building C, then we do amend their contract. We don't do a brand new contract for every specific one that we do.
So we don't
you will
compete.
see various amendments to the engineer services, to the hazardous materials, as well as like our inspector of records. So it's common that we just amend the contract to add on new projects and extending their term and dollar amounts.
Was it originally contemplated in the solicitation documents that we're going to have this bigger scope, or did the scope creep up as we went along? So when you say it's common,
when we do the request for qualification, this is one of the vendors that we do a request for qualification on. So we are requesting to get vendors that are qualified to do the various testing or services that we need at the time. So then when we go to get to do the project, we will go out and informally ask for some quotes for specific projects, and then we will select the one with the best record that we think has the staffing that is necessary at the time and can get the job done and can also stay on the project for the entire period. We don't want to change consultants in the middle of a project. We want to try to keep that consistent throughout.
So how do we kick the tires? If it's the 9th Amendment. How do we ensure we're getting competitive costs if we're not getting competing this out? and keep adding to the scope?
As we explained when we did the facilities and the procurement processes, we go out for RFQs every 5 years. And so once the 5-year period is up, we will go out for another RFQ and we'll have a selection of vendors that are qualified for those particular services.
Let me add to that because there's a part of Trustee Zia's question that I think we need to answer, and that is, of the firms selected in the RFQ, because there's more than one firm, there's several firms, those firms are asked to provide quotes for each project, correct, Vice President Gabel?
Correct.
So although we receive requests for qualifications from firms who can do the work, and of course during that process we do kick the tires, of that list, the team also requests quotes for a specific project. But we do not hire these firms for specific projects. We hire them for the bond program. And then we use the list so that if one goes out of business, we can continue to move the projects along.
I'm glad you clarified that. You guys had me worried for a second. So we do compete it out amongst each other. There's a pool of people and we get competitive pricing. Okay, good. Thank you.
Are there questions? There's a motion.
Well, I had a second question.
Right, and so to answer the question related to RBKK, the amendment is due to the extension of the project. And so since RBKK is the inspector of record for that project, so they're our DSA inspector that is on site. And since we are extending the term through July 31st, then the cost does increase due to the extension of time that they're going to be on the project. To answer the question of when do we expect that project to be done, we're hoping it will be done July 31st and open for business for the fall of 15.
And then item number 12.5, President Kellogg, whenever you have.
I'm sorry?
Well,
I had.
I'm not done
Okay.
yet. I'm not done.
Are you, Trustee
You wanted
Zia,
to go on to 12.5.
are you done with 12.1?
Yes, I am.
Chair recognizes Trustee Baxter. Do you have a question on 12.1?
Thank you. No, in the case of transparency, I want to say that RBKK Inc. is also a donor to the Long Beach City College Foundation.
Very good. There is a motion and a second on the floor then on bond contract amendments. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
President Kellogg,
Aye.
Vice President Otto,
Aye.
Member Archuleta,
Aye.
Member Baxter,
Aye.
and Member Zia.
Aye.
Next item, 12.4. This is the ratification of contracts under $175,000. First, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Baxter,
Second.
second by Trustee Archuleta.
Zia.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking down. Trustee-
I'm not as
motion
pretty.
Second by Trustee Zia. Discussion, Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Thank you, President Kellogg. So I see a legislative advocacy contract with Linda Ann Lingle on behalf of the district in Washington, D.C. I know we have our ACCT, the association at the national level that does advocacy for us, for all community colleges, and then also at the state level. So I'm just unclear as to what kind of advocacy this individual is providing and what it's for, if you could elaborate on that.
Superintendent President Oakley.
Yes, I'd be happy to answer that. So the primary purpose is really threefold. One is to facilitate meetings with the appropriate representatives in Washington, D.C. for whether it be when the delegation of trustees goes up there for ACCT. Because ACCT does not do specific work on behalf of individual college districts, but rather on behalf of the entire delegation. Two, because most of the funding that community colleges receive now through the federal government is tied up in agencies such as Department of Energy, Department of Labor, SBA, and others, one of her primary roles is to seek funding opportunities for the district through the federal government and to position us to receive those funds. So there are many ways that happens. So, for example, there's everything from the TAC grants that we compete for to funds that are provided directly to us that are not out there in a bid form, but that are provided to different districts depending on the programs they have, such as, for example, the Small Business Administration does not competitively bid some of its money, but rather it distributes it to small business development centers throughout the national network. And one of her roles in this specific case would be to lobby for us to ensure that we get as much of those resources as possible.
And is it the only contract that she has with us, or is
Yes, that is, we only have one contract.
okay? And did we competitively secure this?
Yes. So last year, when Mark Taylor was our Director of Governmental Affairs, he did send out a request for proposals and also interviewed all of the firms that at that time he was felt that know how to work with community colleges and fit the specifications, and recommended Linda Lingle. We had held off his sudden departure until Executive Vice President Bynum had a chance to interview Ms. Lingle as well. And after that interview, we're recommending that we bring her on board.
And is the source of funding restricted general funds?
In this case,
Unrestricted.
unrestricted general fund.
Other questions, members of the board? And I believe you answered, but we utilize different consultants in not only Sacramento and Washington, D.C. for very specific projects. We no longer have a specific lobbyist who carries any and all issues, especially in Washington, D.C. And this is one example of that. They're for, as you mentioned, for very specific items.
It is very specific, and although I mean certainly to the general audience, $27,000 is a lot of money, and certainly is, but is a relatively small amount relative to what most entities spend on a Washington D.C. lobbyist. So I think we're getting very good value, and it's very specific to the tasks that we want this individual to accomplish for us.
Yeah, very good. Other questions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, there is a motion and a second on the floor. Please call the roll on 12.4.
President Kellogg.
Aye.
Vice President Otto.
Aye.
Member Archuleta.
Aye.
Member Baxter.
Aye.
Member Zia.
Item 12.5, purchase order approval as ratifications as an action item. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
This motion by Trustee Zia. Second.
Second.
Trustee Archuleta. Questions, comments? Chair recognizes Trustee Zia on 12.5.
Thank you. I was led to believe last time that we're going to get the purchase order listing, which was about 4 pages. It was provided to the trustees, but we were going to have it in our board docket, and I just didn't see it. I watched the video a couple of times to make sure I didn't misunderstand, but we were clearly on record, so I want to understand why it's not provided in our board docket.
It was my understanding that we were going to be providing it in the board document once we go live with the electronic board docs program, and it's going to be a more robust report that gives a description. So what we did was we continued to provide to the board with the data dump that's a query out of the PeopleSoft system that gives very basic information. So we did provide that to each of the individual board members to give them the detail that we can get with the query. We are in the process of changing all of our procedures and how people enter requisitions so that we can get a general description within our purchase requisition system that we can then pull out into a PeopleSoft report that will be included in the board docket for hopefully for the January meeting.
Well, I appreciate that, Ms. Gable, but I believe you may have misunderstood, because I did make a motion, and then Member Archuleta and she seconded my motion to have this documentation, the computer-generated report in the interim provided in this docket while we're working on the electronic board doc. And President Kellogg mentioned that there's no need for a motion and asked for us to withdraw our motion because it was going to be provided there. So you could watch the video. I'd like to see that reflected in the minutes, and for the benefit of the public. This information is not just for the benefit of the trustees, it's for the public and for the sake of transparency. I also have questions on True North Research that is on this list for $51,894. But before I move on, I'd like to understand, are we going to get this list that was provided to the trustees in the minutes? Or do I have to make a motion? Because I was very disappointed not to see it in our docket as we discussed it last time.
Well, let me start with, I know the motion that when you made a motion, actually there was a motion on the floor, you made the motion, seconded, but the reason I asked you to withdraw is because twofold. One, there was already a motion on the floor, so if we were going to deal with it, it would have been it would have been a substitute motion. And then the point was that to do a motion on an item which is essentially asking for something out of our policy, and in reference to the Brown Act, you have to post those things. So that's why I asked, and you did remove it. What I remember is we did say that we were going to have the items that Vice President Gable talked about, which was a simple, I don't know what terminology, it was a couple pages. It didn't give a lot of information, but that's what was going to be provided for this meeting and has been. And the understanding was that when we get to, as we've been working on, as we mentioned over and over again, going to electronic board docs, the process, once we get that up in January, and we're going to do a workshop after this meeting on it, at that time we can because we have the ability to provide more information at that time. Not really a change in our policy and procedures. It just gives us the ability to do some things different and add information. But as far as for this meeting, I personally don't believe that what was provided was exactly what we had at the last meeting, and was provided at this meeting was exactly the same thing.
Right, I asked for it to be provided in the board docket, and you all agreed, and it's not there. But, I would just appreciate if we can codify it in the minutes for the public to have the opportunity and the right, it's their right to know see what we see. And we have the information, I appreciate that, but the request specifically was to put it in the board docket, and it's not provided, and I'm disappointed in that.
But it has been provided to the members of the board, correct?
Right, but it's not just for our benefit, it's benefit of the public. We don't want to conduct the public's business privately.
Can I respond, Trustee Zia?
Yes.
As you know, we've had many conversations about this issue, and I think part of the confusion is the different iterations of what we are or are not going to do, and the expectation that's put on the staff. I mean, the vice presidents don't put together this report; the staff puts together the report. And so, you're correct. There could certainly have been a misunderstanding after all of the discussion at the last meeting. But I think the staff did make a good faith effort to provide the board the information that was asked, that we've always discussed would be available, and that we've always discussed would also be incorporated into the electronic board documents, and they will be attached to the minutes so that the public has access to the same information that you have.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll move on to my questions. And so True North Research, I see design, develop, and conduct market research study. If you could please explain what they're working on. It's a little bit unclear from this description.
Since Executive VP Bynum is not here, and just to be clear, and hopefully this won't be an issue going forward, as was mentioned, but it's be helpful for the board members if there's a question on a specific purchase order to get it ahead of time so that we have the information available in front of us. That particular purchase order and those particular services, as previously the board was briefed, that the district would be conducting survey of the community to get information about, to develop a communications plan. So True North provides the survey services, been surveying homes in the district, as well as individuals from the college and outside of the college. And so they are providing that service to do a scientific survey of the public to get their perceptions of the communication of the district what kind of communication they would like to see from the district, what are the most effective means of communication, and what their perception of the college district is.
Okay, that's great. I look forward to seeing that survey. Is it coming to the board at some point?
The communication plan will come to the board with a lot of that underlying information.
I see.
May I ask a question?
Chair recognizes trustee
Thank you.
Baxter.
Is this the sole cost of the study, $51,000?
For the telephone survey, as well as some of the other survey instruments that they provide, I don't have the entire answer to everything that they did, because I know our interim director is not here, Heather, who could answer that as well.
Okay, so this is the cost of the interviews that they did on campus is
No,
not...
in addition to the they did the telephonic survey,
Oh, okay, so this is only the telephonic.
yes.
But the other survey, about how much was that? And I'm sorry I didn't ask you ahead of time.
I think it was around 40,000, but I don't quote me on that.
And that was a different
The
contract.
Scott Summerfield, SAE.
And,
Right.
and how was this company selected? And was there any input from anybody on campus?
There's multiple answers to that. So the True North was recommended by the consultant SAE. So consultant SAE provided different recommended survey firms that do the survey, and staff met with the different survey firms and got quotes.
Okay.
In addition, this survey will provide us information that is required by our grant with the Lumina Foundation, the Latino Student Success Grant, which requires us to go out and survey Latino families in around the district. So we're using that for that purpose as well, in addition for the student equity plans. So it's providing us multiple levels of information, not just for the communication plans, so we're leveraging that. But to specifically answer your question, we did receive recommendations for different survey firms, and our communications team forwarded a recommendation based on analyzing the cost and capabilities of those firms.
Well, you may wonder why I'm asking. When I ran for office, I found out no one answers the phone. That the only way to talk to people, and President Kellogg can agree with me, is going door. People will answer the door before they'll answer the phone. So I'm a little concerned if the survey is calling people on the phone.
Well, this particular contractor is specifically doing a telephonic survey, and my understanding is they got around a 25 or 30% response rate, which is high in industry
Are
standards.
they in my district?
They are calling your district.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Let the record show I do answer my phone. But
I don't.
Which one?
Chair recognizes trustee Zia. I'm sorry, do you have other questions?
Yes, I do. The Alley Cat development for concrete work, this is for the bond fund. Concrete work by the Building T Viking Express area. One, why are we directly contracting and not through our construction part? I know the roofing, last time you guys explained it's more cost conducive for us to directly contract with the roofing entity, but in this case, is that also the case? And then also, what's going on with the concrete work? Is it work or rework? And I have other questions on this PO list as well.
So the Alley Cat development, this is work that we're doing right outside the Viking Express here in the T building, right by the crosswalk. It's an area that was once landscaped. It has been trampled, and all of the landscaping is gone. And so what we're doing is we're trying to level out that area and put concrete in, so that way we're not constantly fighting and trying to replant grass that is just going to be walked upon and not usable.
Okay,
And we
great.
did go out and we got 3 quotes on this, and this was the lowest.
Perfect. And then on the PO list that you provided, I have questions on There's a $6,000 line item for Eric Ryan. Who's this individual and what services is he providing? And Siemens Industry, it's a bond money. It's 23,000. And
So can we handle one at a time
Sure,
so I can
sure.
track? So Eric Ryan, I believe that's PO number 74282 that you're questioning for $6,000. That is a purchase order that was issued by our College Advancement Economic Development Department. It's for the facilitation of their 2014 strategic planning process for the SBDC grant.
and then Siemens Industry, what are they doing for us?
Can you
Under the
tell me
bond
what
money.
PO number
It's the
that
next
is?
one. It's 74283 for 23,000.
This is our quarterly payment for our lighting retrofit that we're doing. Siemens Industry is kind of our ESCO project that we have for a lot of our energy projects. And so they help with some of the design and engineering, as well as they provided our Lobos optimization system that we use for our heating ventilation system.
So on a quarterly basis, we see this amount. We're gonna have to see this $23,000. Is that what?
I don't
Or
know
does
that
it
that'll
vary?
be exactly the quarterly amount, but, because that is like several things that are wrapped into that particular PO.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Bobby Hendricks. I'm assuming he's not related to Jimi Hendrix.
So Bobby Hendricks, this is, we are doing some renovations to the MM building to convert the old sheet metal area into usable classroom space. So this is a contract for renovations within that building.
And it's paid for under the bond money. Is that what the?
Actually paid for out of our capital outlay fund.
Okay, great. And then lastly, Robert Allen Waddington. This individual has two purchase orders that sums up to about $7,700. It's on your page 3. Purchase order 74354 and 74355. What does he provide for us?
Right. This particular vendor is paid for with the Foster Kinship Grant funds, and this is a presenter agreement for this individual to provide modules and presentations throughout the program to the participants within the program.
Thank you. That's all I had.
All right, thank you. Just clarification, and I work with the superintendent president as chair on the agenda, but this document, because I get it before everyone else knowing, but when did this PO list go out? I was assuming it went out it didn't go a hard copy with our book, but when did it electronically get sent?
The PO list was mailed out to the board members last Thursday evening.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just arriving at people's door. All right, very good. No other questions, members of the board at this time?
President
Sec-
Kellogg, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to report on that in our trustee report. I did ask. I went to a Brown Act conference session. I did ask, are we allowed to have communication prior to the meeting? They said you can as long as you publicly disclose it. That was the insight of the two attorneys there that were the Brown Act experts. So I appreciate your efforts and you indicating that we got this ahead of time. I will certainly bring it up, but we have to publicly disclose it because the public has the right to know according to the Brown Act. Thank you.
Are you saying I'm sorry. Are you
I
saying
asked
you
the
did not-
question.
You did not receive it on last Thursday?
I did receive it, but the question I had was, can we have, prior to the meeting, a dialogue about agenda items? And they said, according to the Brown Act, and there's been provisions made, it would be considered conducting the business of the public privately unless we publicly come and disclose it and go over each item. And then if there's written communication, it has to be disclosed to the public. And I can give you the provision of the Brown Act that they gave me.
You were also.
I don't remember them saying that, but
Okay.
I asked individually from the gentleman afterwards, and then you both had.
If I
left.
may, if
There was
there's
That I,
if there's a legal question, we have our Brown Act attorney. We'd be happy to, if there's a written question that we need to make, we'll be happy to provide that. But, you know, at conferences, attorneys talk in generalities without the specific issue in front of them. So if there's a specific issue, I'd be happy to get an opinion for the board.
I asked specifically. I was very clear, and we went through it. But it was, I asked privately. So, and nevertheless, I'm going to continue to ask publicly because the public has the right to know.
I just.
But you're going to provide that in the January e-docket. So hopefully there won't be a need to discuss it to this level of detail.